This is the Dery Brothers Tribecast, a podcast for diehard Cleveland Indians fans. Presented to you by WaitingForNextYear.com. Now, here are the hosts, Matt and Todd Dery.
All right, everybody, let's do this. Dery Brothers Tribecast. We're back for another week on an off-day Tuesday, fresh off the home opener yesterday. Todd Dery in attendance for the Tribe gritty come-from-behind win over the Chicago White Sox. We welcome you back, and thank you for listening to us, courtesy of our friends at WaitingForNextYear.com, and, of course, sponsored by Groove Ride. Matt Dery, Todd Dery. 2-2, brother. This was good to see the boys bounce back and fight back yesterday, but boy, those late innings in that cold stadium yesterday once the White Sox took the lead must not have been a lot of fun.
Well, I will say this. This was an interesting day yesterday for me. And I really want to start at the beginning, because when I normally go down, I would say not, in the last, basically of the Tito era, this was the strangest home opener that I can remember of the Tito era in terms of the fans. I went down with my son, and I wanted to kind of walk the stadium and get a little bit of a vibe and kind of listen to people's conversations and report back to the pod and to our listeners, because I think, we kind of get caught in the Twitter echo chamber of negativity a lot of times.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And, what people who are on Twitter, we act like this is the majority of people are on Twitter, when it's really a small percentage of
very small.
Yeah, whether it's sports, politics, entertainment, whatever it is, those opinions are a very small thing. So, there's been so much negativity surrounding the team, and I just wanted to kind of get a vibe of, the stadium and what was going on with the people. So, when Andrew and I were walking around the stadium, at one point we were waiting in the line, and I was listening to this conversation with the guys behind us, complaining about the lack of hitting and, how they're just not as excited as they normally are. And there was a time that I was walking by and talking to my ushers, the great Annie and Josh. And I asked them, I said, what are you guys feeling? They said, it's so negative around here around the fans. It just doesn't seem to make much sense to me. And listen, I understand it, and I don't want to dwell on it too hard, but it was a strange vibe up until the eighth inning, essentially, when things turned around and we got some base runners and we scored some runs. But it was very strange for early on in the game, and it being freezing and the Indians essentially, not even sniffing any sort of base runners except for two horrible defensive plays in the first inning by the White Sox against, Ivan Nova's not exactly Clayton Kershaw here. So, but yeah, it was strange. It was great. I'm glad I was there. It turned out to be, a big win, obviously. And, I'm just excited that we get to, after today's day off, we just get to continue on with more games every day, because you and I both know there's nothing better than every single day we get to watch one of these games.
Well, let me piggyback on something you said, and I think you bring up a great point. The negativity is at an all-time, I don't know, I wouldn't call it an all-time high. There obviously negativity and people talking is still better than apathy, where nobody where nobody cares. You know,
an all-time high of the Tito era.
Sure. Oh, I think that's accurate. And obviously what he inherited, what we have now is better than what Tito inherited years ago. And it took him a little bit of time to build this thing, but it came rather quickly. But, like I said, I'd rather have some negativity and people talking about the team than having complete apathy and nobody caring. You've made the point, and you've put this on our group chat with our buddy Jeremy, executive producer of content, show contributor and content director. And you've said Berea's going to be hopping. People are going to be talking Browns. Odell gets introduced on opening day. All that stuff. And maybe the Browns did that intentionally. Maybe that was Odell's, airline booking. Who knows? But yesterday's eighth inning comeback and ninth inning hang on by Mr. Hand was huge. It was huge. Like, could you imagine going home, to your homes, to your apartments, to your houses, whatever, at 1-3 and losing to the White Sox and some pinch hitter that nobody's ever heard of, taking John Edwards deep. Not that John Edwards is a household name. That eighth inning comeback, I mean, yeah, it's April. It's the fourth game of the year. Does it really matter? But no, that was a big comeback yesterday. The guy's showing grit. And two of the biggest at-bats of the season were by Jake Bauers, of course, on a 2-strike count, taking the ball the other way and showing some emotion at second base. Love that. And Max Moroff, who out of nowhere takes a first pitch fastball and sends it into left field to tie the game. So, those were big hits. And those have been few and far between. I mean, Todd, we look at an overview of a 2-2 baseball team that has not been able to score. We knew that was going to be a problem. So people are probably listening going, well, why are these guys bitching about the offense? If you told us the offense wasn't going to be good and you have no Lindor, Kipnis, or Cargo, but then you have to watch and sit through these games, and you were in the cold yesterday, but those road games, we were in the friendly confines of our living rooms watching. It's not good. And there's holes in the offense, and boy, the starting pitching's been great, but there's so many things to say about it, but it's kind of gone as I expected it to go, and I expect April to be a 500 type of month, despite playing bad White Sox teams, bad Blue Jays teams. They're awful. I watched them this weekend against Detroit. They suck. The Tigers, April actually, from a schedule standpoint, isn't bad. And
the Royals, back-to-back. I mean, you're starting off with, after the Twins, it's White Sox, Blue Jays, Tigers, Royals. Those are bad baseball teams. So that's and those are games that hopefully you can win. But I've been thinking a lot about this, and the lineups get posted. The opening day in Minnesota, Tyler Naquin's hitting third, and then game 2, Tyler Naquin's hitting third, and you're looking at the lineup, and it's Brad Miller, and it's Moroff, and it's Stamets, and you're saying to yourself, what? But I decided that I can't get upset, and we should not get upset when we look at these lineups, because this is what it's going to be until Frankie comes back, Cargo comes back, and Kipnis comes up, and Kipnis comes back. This is what it's going to be. These are the cards we're dealt. So every day I'm not going to go see the lineup and go, oh, God, look at the 5 through 9, as much as I say it out loud. This is our reality right now.
Well, but there's one card that Tito could play differently, and he hasn't done it yet, and he might end up doing it sooner rather than later, and that's the Greg Allen card. That's the one thing he can control. Oscar Mercado hasn't taken an at-bat at Columbus yet, if I'm not mistaken, so that's a wait and see. You're not going to go make a trade. Look, the Yankees lost Miguel Andujar. They're going to trade for an infielder rather soon, and they've got obviously deeper pockets than the Tribe does. But the one card he could play is Greg Allen and play him more, start him more, and make him more of a focal point, and it would make the lineup, at least on paper, on Twitter at 4:30 for a 7:05 game look a little bit better. That's for sure.
When I look up and I see that Tyler Naquin's hitting third those first 2 games, and then he gets, he's gotten 3 starts, and Greg Allen has gotten 1. If you're Greg Allen, you had an unbelievable spring. You can play all 3 outfield positions. You're fast. You're a solid defender, and you make good contact. And you look up, and you are playing behind a guy who in his first 7 at-bats was 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts and a pop-out to the catcher. You have got to be saying to yourself, what in the world do I have to do to become an everyday player on this team? And it may never happen for me.
I think the argument that's made by Francona is when healthy, going back to 2016 when Naquin was really an up-and-comer, and I know he was an older rookie than people expected, but when he was an up-and-comer and was a guy that played pretty well, that was a problem. That was actually a good problem to have because no one expected him to do what he did. And then last year he was semi-decent before he got hurt also. So he has more of a larger sample size of effectiveness, Todd. Is that safe to say? But again, you're right. Based on everything else, it's nothing great. I don't know why I'm defending Naquin. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, I think that's a stretch. I mean, the book on him. Let's be honest. After he hit that walk-off inside the park home run, he hasn't done a thing since. He really hasn't. He fell way off the table at the end of 2016. He did. And then you remember, there's 2017 and 2018 where he was ineffective and he couldn't stay healthy. And I know this team is devoid of outfield. I mean, listen, if they were so high on Naquin, Carlos Gonzalez and now Cameron Maben, who's also down in AAA, would not be signed. They know. It's just,
we better not see Cameron Maben. I swear that better be a AAA filler position. Don't tell me I'm going to see Cameron Maben up here. Please, God.
Yeah. Well, my guess is my guess, and I'm not kidding. You'll see him before you're going to see Mercado. I know that sounds
I get it. I get it.
But I think that's going to be entirely true. You're going to see him before you see Mercado. But anyways, let's get back to the game and the games over the weekend. So yesterday's lineup was nothing great. We were getting totally shut down by Ivan Nova, but what was nice to see was, again, Carlos Santana, who came off of that 4-for-4 game on Sunday, came up with the big game. I guess you could say they took the lead on 1-0 with his 2-out RBI single. That was great. He is a steadying force in the middle of that lineup. And
who would have thought? Right? Who would have thought Carlos Santana? Whispers in the clubhouse years ago about immaturity and selfishness. Being, like you said, the veteran leader. He's like Mr. Cleveland, him and Carrasco. It's incredible. And thank God for Carlos Santana.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're getting, again, with him back in there instead of Edwin, you're not going to get as much power, but you're getting a switch hitter. You're getting a guy who walks a lot more and makes more contact and doesn't strike out nearly as much. And he's very flexible. So, I love having Carlos back in there. And it was a nice welcome to Cleveland moment, his RBI single yesterday, to give the Indians that 1-0 lead. And he over the weekend he hit very well too. So we'll see where things go with him. I think he's going to have a big season. I think he's much more comfortable now being at home. I think the big city, Philadelphia, got the contract, was looked at as the big free agent. I don't think that suited him very well. I think he's really taken to this leadership role here in Cleveland, and that's a really nice thing to see because right now you're looking for a leader because this team, without Frankie out there and, Edwin being gone and Brantley being gone and Yan Gomes being gone, they're looking for a leader, and I think Carlos can be that guy.
Dery Brothers Tribecast, again on an off-day Tuesday. Tribe at 2-2. The Indians will continue with a game against the White Sox on Wednesday. Is that a night game tomorrow? And then I know the Blue Jays come in for 4.
That'd be 1:10. Your boy will be there.
1:10 tomorrow, right. and then what? A 6? I can't keep track of the times. A 6 o'clock game or 6:05 game on Thursday, and
so it's 6:10. So it's 1:10, 6:10 Thursday, 7:10 Friday. How about this? You will have this week 5 games, not including Sunday, with 5 different starting times. Yesterday was 4:10, tomorrow's 1:10, Thursday 6:10, Friday 7:10, and Saturday's 4:10, Sunday 1:10. Yeah, so there you go.
Toronto blows. We got to take at least 3 out of 4 from that 4A outfit up there in Ontario. They're not very good, but. All right, we're talking about this 2-2 team. Todd, we've gone through the lineup a little bit. We've talked about it. There's obvious flaws. It's obvious Jose Ramirez's ball hit yesterday in the early innings would have been, or in the middle innings last night would have been a home run in the summer. There's things like that. But the starting pitching's been very, very good. Carrasco had an off day Sunday. That's going to happen. Didn't have command or feel for his pitches in the cold in Minnesota. And the Twins look good. Give them credit. Minnesota swung the bats pretty well. Buxton looks like he's got it back and revved up. And this Astudillo kid that you brought up a couple of weeks ago looks like he can hit. His issues are behind the plate and whether he's as good a receiver as a guy like Jason Castro. But, man, the starters have been awesome. That must have been fun yesterday to sit there and watch Clevinger pump 97-mile-per-hour heaters past hitters.
I was just going to say, the uptick in this velocity, and you know what else I love about him? You can tell, you can see Trevor Bauer's influence on him. If you watched the game yesterday, you could see it. Not only the velocity, he just seems to be more intense out there and more confident and more – he had a couple, probably 2-3 different fist pumps after big strikeouts. He was showing a lot more emotion than he normally does, which I happen to love. He was mowing them down. I mean, he really, really looked good. Even his pitches that were balls. I mean, he had a higher pitch count because he was going, he was driving it up there a lot, but he was also striking out. He had 12 strikeouts. He really looks primed for a massive, massive year. And that's your 4th starter. I mean, it's ridiculous. Again, we can hem and haw and bitch about the offense all we want. But guess what? Nobody's got 5 starters like we do. No. And I will take that and hopefully get to October and then take my chances with those guys, because what we saw with Clevinger yesterday, if that's a sign for what we're going to see all year, I mean, we're in for quite a ride, because I think he and Bauer are going to kind of do a little who can one up the next guy. I mean, he was terrific yesterday.
And as real Matty Dubs, Matt Underwood, would say, that was a harbinger of things to come. That guy's got every 80s cliche down, man. Oh, it's good to hear Underwood and Manning. Our friend and listener, Andre Knott, great interview post-game with Jake Bowers. I enjoyed that.
Let's talk about that for a second. I saw it on Twitter. Obviously, I was at the game, so I didn't see it, but I think Jake Bowers, he seems like a really good dude, doesn't he?
Oh, I told you, I watched some of his film over the winter. He's got a little bat flip. He's got a little edge to him. He's got a little red ass to him, and I like that. And maybe that's what we need.
I'll tell you what. You know what else I loved? Number one, I love the emotion. Number two, I love that Tito did not pinch hit for him, lefty, and brought up. He could have had Luplow pinch hit there when Rick back and forth to the dugout to the mound, Renteria came out, but he let Bowers swing away and face a lefty, and he got the big hit. And what I loved, somebody asked him about it after the game, and he brought up a good point. And I think it's true. Somebody asked Tito about it. Somebody's going to have to hit lefty on left. This is going to be a guy that you traded for to hopefully be a middle of the order bat and an important piece on your team. Let's see him swing away against the lefty at the beginning of the year and get him some confidence. Why not? It's not like Jordan Lupo's any great shakes. I mean, so he let him hit.
He also wasn't
up with a big double.
Right. He also wasn't facing Aroldis Chapman. It was Jace Fry. Great name, but his stuff isn't exactly Steve Carlton yet. And it was, you're right. 2 strikes, you're thinking, oh boy. And he's been stepping in the bucket a little bit. Has Bowers. I've been watching, and he stayed in there. And there was a big gap in left center. And credit to Underwood, he called it. He said big gap in left center. And that's exactly where Bowers hit it. Back to the pitching for a second. You mentioned Bauer, how good he looked the other day. I think there was a sigh of relief probably from Indians Nation on Kluber's opening day start. A little hiccup in that one inning where he gave up the 2 hits or the 2 runs, but he looked good. I like the velocity, even in the cold, and even with that, kind of amped down radar gun in Minnesota. That's a good sign. And like you said, Todd, you got to wait on Bieber, because you got to have every 5th day with Kluber here, and so Shane can wait and pitch later in the week. It's a great problem to have, and I like what I saw so far from Kluber, Bauer, and Clevinger. Like you said, Carrasco wasn't good, but it wasn't like he got knocked around in the first inning and then the game was over. The defense has been pretty decent. That's the biggest thing with Kluber, though, is we all wanted to see how he would be on day one after the our last taste we have in our mouths of him in the playoffs was not a good one.
Yeah, and you know what? I totally agree with you. And just talking to people in the stadium yesterday and friends of ours who are Indians fans, it did seem like Kluber made everybody kind of relax a little bit after that first start, because he pitched so well. He essentially got beaten on one pitch by Marwin Gonzalez, who's a known Indians killer. And, in the end, the offense did nothing for him. So, what are you going to do? If every game Kluber's going to go out there and give you 7 innings of essentially, 1 or 2 run ball and give up 3 or 4 hits, you're in good shape. And, so it was good. It was definitely, I agree with you. It was definitely good to see him, look like his old self. That's for sure. And as I said before, Give me our 5 starters against anybody else's 5 starters. It's not close. It's really not close. Now, when we get into the bullpen, that's another story.
All right, let's talk about the pen. And Brad Hand has already pitched in 3 games. I want to do that next. First, Todd's got to tell us about Groove Ride, our sponsor. We love them. Todd loves them. He basically lives there. Is that correct?
They would tell you I live there. I'm the number 1 unpaid employee of Groove Ride, to be honest. No, but in all seriousness, took a spin class this morning with Lindsay, who's fantastic. She played great tunes over there on Woodmere. Again, I've mentioned the 3 locations, so whichever is best for you. Downtown, across from Perk Park there in Reserve Square, the newest location in Shaker Square, the new shopping center there, and then on Woodmere on Chagrin Boulevard. Stick if you want to join me for some boot camps, I would love it. They do a fantastic job. My wife is big at the Rock the Bells class, which is a low impact kettlebell and dumbbell class, which is great. And, again, I've mentioned Zosimo Maximo is his name. He is one of the co-owner of the gym, and that's his real name, and he's one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet. And he and his wife, Anjua, they handle all 3 locations, and they are back and forth to all 3, and they've poured their heart and soul into this business, and they've done a terrific job, and it's a great community, and everyone in there is super nice. So check them out at grooveride.com. That's GROOVERYDE.com, and tell them Todd sent you.
All right, buddy. I love that. By the way, you mentioned the Woodmere location. Is it at any point they're going to widen the lanes and widen on Chagrin Boulevard?
That's a good bit.
How's Pepper Lanes? Is it still there? I'm just kidding. I mean, let's be honest. I think Chagrin Boulevard needs a Del Taco or something open 24 hours.
Del Taco?
Yes. We just got one by me. It's open 24 hours.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know they came east, Del Taco.
You know it, baby. Free Shavakadu. Watch the YouTube clip. It's an old Vine classic. All right, let's talk about the bullpen. Yesterday was certainly very, very shaky as Tito went to Adam Simber. He seems to be the 8th inning guy. And Simber, nobody's hit Simber all that hard, but when you're throwing the ball, away and down the right field line, that can't help your cause. And Oliver Perez, they turn Moncada around. He smashes one. John Edwards comes in, and it was not a good performance from the pen yesterday. I think it's a little too early after 4 games, TD, to be freaking out about the pen. What do you think?
Yeah, it's way too early. I mean, really, yesterday was a bad start. If Simber came in and the first guy he faced, it was a ground ball to the pitcher and he threw it away. All right, the inning is completely different if he doesn't throw that ball away and having the runner Rondon end up on second with nobody out. That just changes the complexion of everything. Now, did I love it that Oliver Perez gave up a double? No. Did I love it that John Edwards came in and gave up an absolute bomb to a guy I had never heard of in my life, and I pride myself on knowing everything about baseball? No. But, again, we talked about this in the last few podcasts. There's going to be some mixing and matching and guys trying to figure out, their roles now. I am not going to freak out about this until it's a problem for weeks at a time. They straightened things out last year at a lot later than we wanted when, the Neil and Ollie show took over. But, we'll see how things work out. Tyler Olson didn't pitch yesterday, and he's been the key left-on-left specialist. Listen, in the end, the Indians were winning 1-0. Okay, there was no margin for error, and this also goes back. This goes back to the offense. You want to hold a lead, I'd like to hold more than a 1-0 lead. Right.
And even the other day when we couldn't score and the bullpen had to kind of eat up some innings in garbage time, and Neil Ramirez gave up some runs. I mean, it's that. I think that's going to happen. I need to see more in a larger sample size. What disappointed me yesterday was John Edwards' velocity. We had been told it was higher than it looked yesterday. I think the pitch that was hit out by the kid from the White Sox was 91, 92, and down in the zone. So, if that's 95, 96, that might be a different story. So, Simber, we don't know. I mean, I think it's still a wait and see. But if Edwards continues to get rocked, then you got to look to Columbus and see early on. I don't know if Jeffrey Rodriguez I think he's going to be in the rotation in Columbus. But is that a guy
stretching him out?
Yeah. Is that a guy you could bring up that could be a hard? That's the thing that this bullpen outside of Brad Hand is lacking is hard throwers. It's not a gassy bullpen at all.
Yeah, I mean, the other guy who throws real hard is Neil Ramirez, but he has, lots of control problems at times. So, I think he's going to, other than Otero, I think he's going to give every one of these guys, an opportunity to be that guy. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things work out there. But hands look great so far. That's a good thing to see. At least you got that stability. It's just getting him the ball is going to be the hardest part. But I'm not going to freak out that John Edwards, gave up a home run.
No, because
guys are going to give up home runs. It's going to happen.
Right.
So,
and I think was it opening day or was it Saturday when Edwards looked pretty good against Minnesota?
He was the winning pitcher in both games. Which, by the way, the win is the single dumbest stat ever because John Edwards was the winning pitcher.
I know. It was.
The guy who gave up one hit and struck out 12 in 7 innings got a no decision. So,
right. They should have. They should have assigned the win to Clevinger. That's what they should have done. But they've never done that.
I don't understand why they don't just change that rule. Just have the official scorer rule who the winning pitcher is. How hard would that be?
Well, let's not forget that in a game where the starting pitcher doesn't go 5 full innings and the official scorer gets the chance to name a winner and name which relief pitcher is the winning pitcher. So it's not like it's never happened before, but that's neither here nor there. The one thing I have an issue with and I'm worried about is all the close games, the tight games, the lack of hitting will lead to we just don't want to see a hand overused,
yes.
So that's that's I didn't even really mean to use a sexual reference there, but let's be honest, that's the bottom line is is he going to pitch in every game, and it's 3 of the first 4. I know we've had off days and everything else.
But
now
keep in mind that they didn't play Friday and they don't play today, and I think he came in the opener with the Indians down 2-0, and I think that was strictly because there was an off day and he didn't want him to sit too long. And then, so he had the off day Friday. Saturday he got the save. He was off Sunday, and then yesterday he got the save. He's off. They're off today, Tuesday. So, but again, I agree you can't overuse Brad Hand, but until somebody else steps up and shows that they're can be counted on, I think you're going to see a lot of them. I really do. All
right, last thing. Who is in the lineup tomorrow for the left-hander, the first lefty that we've seen, lefty starter, Carlos Rodon, the Sox ace against Kluber? Do we see no Naquin? Do we see Allen hit from the right side? Is he going to give Jordan Luplow a chance? What do you think?
I think he's going to play. I think Luplow and Allen will both play, and I think he'll give Bowers and Naquin the day off, just because you kind of got to get these guys some at bats too. I mean, Luplow's, has he? I think he's gotten 3 at bats so far, and I know I think he's got 4 plate appearances because 3 strikeouts and a walk. I think he'll be in the lineup just to be in the lineup because it's against the lefty, and I think obviously you'll see Greg Allen, but I'd like to see Greg Allen every day personally, but I think you'll see both of those guys. And Moroff with the big hit. I bet my guess is you'll see Moroff and
Stamets.
Moroff and Stamets tomorrow.
That poor kid.
Miller would be on.
That poor kid from Dublin, Ohio, Stamets. I know he's a Tribe fan, and he was grew up rooting for Vizquel, and you want him to do so well, but he's just not a major league hitter. He could probably be fine in the field, but some of those at bats, and he's just reaching.
I was listening to the post game show on the way home, and Tito said, I wanted Stamets to get his first major league hit so badly there. Yeah, it was too bad. One other quick thing before we go. Sources have told me that you will not be seeing Frankie until the middle of May at the earliest. Now, since he's in Green Bay getting his ankle looked at as a second opinion, and the Indians have said could be today they we've heard from Paul Hoynes and Zach Meisel that it's definitely not a major setback. He could return within a few weeks, but the Indians have been coy about this kind of stuff for so long, and if he can't really move, and it's April 2nd, by the time they get him up, they're going to send him down to AAA to get some at-bats because he basically had no spring training. I don't think you're going to see him until the middle of May. So it wouldn't shock me at all if that happened. I know they're saying now 2 to 3 weeks, but I'm telling you, I think it's going to be longer than that.
All right, I'm not, like you said, I'm going to hope for the best. I'm with you on that if that's the case. I still believe that if they can get through April and be, at 500 or a little over that, I'll take it. We still have a lot to learn about this team, but you have to feel good that, again, thank God for this division, because we saw what the White Sox, even the improvement that the White Sox have made. They were still the White Sox yesterday. And
the defense in the first inning, that was something else. Man, oh man.
And Tim Anderson being gone on bereavement leave, on baby duty as his wife was given in labor. I mean, that's a big miss when you don't have your shortstop out there. But no, I think as long as the starting pitchers are doing their thing, we'll be all right. So, all right, bud, go get a win for us tomorrow. All right.
You know it.
There he is, Todd Dery, Matt Dery. It's the Dery Brothers Tribecast, another episode in the books, thanks to our friends at waitingfornextyear.com, where you can find the podcast, of course, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Subscribe, please, on iTunes. And support our friends at Groove Ride. That's Groove Ride, RYDE.com. Go Tribe. Oh, Todd, wait, the red uniforms. Dude, those were sick. I liked them.
Loved them. They looked great. I want red pants, too.
Oh, let's not go too crazy, Clevinger.
Ooh, I like it. You know who else wants red pants? Clevinger.
That's what I said.
He wants some red pants.
All right, We're out of here. Go Tribe. We'll talk to you next week.